Steve was someone who came into our business early this year and is an absolute weapon. So Steve was Chief Technology Officer at Guzman & Gomez for 4 years. He's also been involved in running BioPack, but has some amazing experience in terms of his ability to stand. He won't say this himself, so that's why I'm saying it. He can be in a helicopter at 10,000 feet. He'll work out what the technology architecture needs to be. He'll work out what the transformation needs to be, but then he'll actually be there with his hands in the mud, building it and making it work. So introducing you to Steve.
So over the next 25 minutes or so, I want to share with you some of the most invaluable lessons I've learned over the last 10 years, specifically having gone through 2 scale-ups that have grown by over 10 times over those periods. I was for 6 years with environmentally friendly packaging company BioPack, and then most recently 4 years at the Mexican restaurant chain Guzman & Gomez. So you can take away some of the insights that I've learned to help you as you scale and move into these businesses. My name is Stephen Orleow, and I actually have been involved in startups and scale-ups for over 35 years in some form or manner. And over that time, I've had the opportunity to be both a CFO and CTO, spanning 2 areas that I'm extremely passionate about. So there's just 2 observations from being involved in the community over the last 2 days. The first one is this theme of resilience has come up quite a lot. And to see you guys still sitting in a room listening to very heavy content is a testament that you're starting to show that resilience. So well done. And I've forgotten the other point on those 2 observations. Oh, the other point was very interesting listening to all the entrepreneurs yesterday, because a lot of the themes that came out, you will see come through my discussions today. So despite my obvious bias towards technology, I want to declare at the outset, technology is at best and only a tool to be used alongside other critical aspects. And this is not a technology talk at all, but how you should leverage technology to be part of a business transformation. However, in my experience, technology can be an incredible accelerator if used correctly, or an inhibitor or in your efforts to scale if incorrectly executed. Just to get a quick read of the room so I know what the audience is and I can cater, I'd be curious to know of people that are here, who's currently in a business that is going through, that has either moved in or been involved in for a little while. Just raise your hands. Okay. Who is part of a search process at the moment looking for a business? A few more. Advisors to the industry? Great. And then investors? Okay, brilliant, thank you. Okay, so let's dive into some of these lessons and we're going to get a little bit more granular. This is a point that has come out quite a bit and I'm going to reiterate it. The success of any business transformation and your operations will only be achieved if you are directly driving the process. At both GYG and BioPack, the CEOs took a very active interest in the digital transformations that I was involved in. And interestingly, with completely different operating styles. At BioPack, Gary Smith was an extremely active participant and wanted to know all the detail and was across all the major decisions and was involved every step of the way on everything that happened. While at GYG, Stephen Marks was a very strong guiding, influencing, and challenging person in the process, was briefed on a weekly basis, but not as close. And yet he would take the time to go out and talk to some of the engineers that were involved in the transformation. I think he had no idea what they were talking about, but every single engineer that left that conversation could feel his passion and walked away motivated to continue doing their work. Please don't ever underestimate the impact that you will have by those small conversations you will have with people in your team, no matter what level they are, not just your leaders. Your visible commitment impacts both the speed of execution and the decision-making process in these transformations. We're not dealing with large businesses with large committees and slow churning processes, but owner-led innovative businesses And often quick decisions are needed. And your understanding of the details and your objectives are invaluable to drive that faster decision making and the correct outcomes. This often achieves the best results. The other point worth raising, but it is not uncommon for you as the leader to have an extremely clear vision of what you want to achieve and where you're headed, which hopefully is completely uncluttered from the day-to-day activities of the business. This clarity of vision often prevents teams from spending excessive time around areas of lower value. I've seen teams wasting time arguing about what seems to be a complex decision when the owner of the business hears about this, walks in, makes a decision, and everyone can move forward in a very clear and direct fashion, which considerably speeds up the process and achieves better outcomes. I've not been part of any successful transformation that the leader is not passionately driving the outcome. Business transformations are exceptionally exciting and significant journeys, and they often seem extremely daunting from the outset. They're often accompanied by uncertainty as to where and when to start, and there's a conflict between the undertaking of large transformational change and the requirements of business as usual, which can consume most of the time and focus of your teams. Regardless of the size of your project, the best outcomes are achieved by breaking the projects into small, manageable pieces. Always focus on what's possible, on which part of the large transformation can be delivered over the next 2 weeks. It was interesting listening to Christina last night, who spoke about how do you ride 4,000 kilometers. You ride 4 hours at a time, and it's not dissimilar. This smaller period creates a balance between showing demonstrable progress and allowing the team to build confidence in their ability to make change. It teaches the team that small, continuous improvements is how to move through a large transformational change. And although that large transformational change is the ultimate goal, the process of continuous improvement is an incredible outcome if you can start to build this into your company culture. Both transformational change and ongoing incremental improvements are achieved in small 2-weekly sprints, which is actually the process of identifying specific improvements, balancing what can be realistically delivered over a short defined period, and experience has shown that 2 weeks is a great period to focus on. Committing to this, showing these improvements, and then assessing the outcomes and tweaking or embedding this into your operational progress. You won't get everything right first time, so give yourself the ability of making small changes, seeing that outcome, adjusting if necessary, and then committing to that. Recently, at a company that we've been working with in the ETA space, we used this approach over a 14-week period. Over this time, we completed 9 separately identifiable projects of different sizes and time by agreeing once again what we will deliver in the next 2 weeks. And this included a project that was live over the full 14 weeks, and some projects that would be completed in an afternoon or as part of the 2-week sprint. And again, this process of continual evolution and feedback resulted in management confidence and great outcomes. Okay, so my most important slide. Your powerful visions of the future cannot be achieved by technology alone. Your executional success will be the result of achieving success across 3 critical areas. My 3 Ps: the people, your processes, and the platforms or systems that you do. And the interplay between these 3 areas, ensuring you focus on the piece of the puzzle that specifically needs attention. Technology can, at best, only support the right people who have implemented the correct business processes. It's not uncommon for me to be asked to replace a system and with a deeper dive, discover that the existing system is just not being used properly. And a small amount of training the team and implementing a few processes to support this reinforces an outcome that results in that system being seen as revolutionary or changing the business. So now, having placed technology as just one of the legs of that critical three-legged stool, executing the technology piece correctly is still critical. I've witnessed the best outcomes where there is a technical expert within the business. Why? Business, and we've heard this a lot over the last 2 days, is a highly dynamic activity. It continually evolves and changes, and whether there's markets are changing or your customers are changing, and as you start to scale, the requirements of the business will change. The concept of set and forget around technology is at best naive and at worst a disaster waiting to happen. You have to continuously innovate and improve your technology and processes and make sure the people are matched to that. And having a champion in the business evolving the platform continuously will have a visibly better outcome. So invest in your key people to become champions of the technology that you employ. I'm asked if not having a champion in the team or an expert in the team is disastrous. And I think that it is possible to achieve similar outcomes if you work alongside the correct technical partners who understand both the platform as well as your culture and the people, and are able to evolve with you as your business evolves. I do want to specifically call out that very often software companies who sell their technology are really good at setting up their technology. But don't expect them to understand your business or take the time to understand your people. As long as your business fits into their mold of execution, you will achieve a good outcome and probably a lot more cost effective. But seldom have I seen the best business outcomes from this approach because they're unlikely to take the time to understand your business properly and your executional culture. It is also not uncommon for me to come across a business where that tech expert does exist in the business, with all the skills to be able to evolve their platforms as they grow. But we're still not seeing transformational change. The reality is very often the best people are overwhelmed in operational execution. I love the concept, I think it originally came from Google, that forced their people to spend at least 20% of their time on passionate projects. And I think you need to look at this as how do we get the freedom for our good people to continually iterate on passion projects and improve our platforms and processes. The other concept worth sharing in this space is very often and increasingly so, those with the greatest technical comfort and ability to improve your systems tend to be the younger generation. And these are the people with the least life and business experiences. So trying to find a way within your culture to support them to grow in that confidence, to be able to deliver the value they can, is part of the challenge. This is where you are called on as a leader to ensure that you create the right culture and space for great people to innovate and how they can deal with failure so that they are confident enough to continue along that road and allow your less experienced but highly competent people to bring their best capabilities to the business. It's always exciting for me to open the box of all possible changes and improvements that can be achieved in a business. You'll be pleasantly surprised when you brainstorm with your teams of how to improve the number of good ideas that follow. And one of the questions asked was, how do you bring people into your new vision? I think very often sitting down and asking them to be part of that vision and what they see as opportunities for improvement is a great mechanism to bring them along in that journey. You'll find that these people often have great ideas of how to make improvements, but have been thwarted by an owner or someone been in the business for a long time. And because you're fresh, you have the opportunity of saying, I am new, tell me what you know about the business and tell me what we should be improving. But this often leads to such a volume of ideas and opportunities that you can land up in idea paralysis. So how do we deal with this? I think that dealing with this is easier than you think. Let the team create a single document with everything that needs attention. Don't have any judgment and don't worry about solving any of the issues. Just document what needs attention and create this as a large, living and ongoing document that anyone can add issues to, large or small, at any time. We refer to this as a backlog list and should be a live document. As a team, you then need to create alignment. What are the largest and most dangerous fires burning at the moment? We often refer to these as the large rocks. What's causing the greatest frustration, the greatest waste of time, customer frustration, or even worse, customer loss? This obviously goes first. And what can be delivered against that over the next 2 weeks? At that stage, you've taken this massive list and you've definitely put it down to something that you can realistically focus on and deliver over a short period. Over time, as these large fires start to subside, you then get to choose on focusing on value-add activities. What will create the greatest additional value to the business? And obviously, I like Cam's comment about revenue and customers go first. The interesting and valuable outcome of this process as you move through your backlog is you will find that you will increasingly gain more time to be able to dedicate to all these projects. And this starts to create a positive vortex of more transformational change. This thinking should not only be applied for transformations, but for continuous and ongoing improvement. Backlog, fires first, and then value add. I have a great quote that I came across when putting this together from George Patton, who was an army general, and I was told not to use this word, but I think it's good. A good plan, violently executed now, is better than a perfect plan executed next week. You are incapable of making any decision that'll be right forever. So once you are unburdened by this fallacy, decide on what is the best move right now and make that move. I've recently become a fan of Stephen Bartlett, author of A Diary of a CEO, and he does a podcast by the same name. If you haven't read the book, it's definitely worth reading, not because it's about CEOs, but it talks about transformational change. He has a very good ability to communicate on the lessons he's learned going through disruptive and transformational change. And in his book, he speaks about perfect decisions. I'm going to share with you some of the insights that I thought were highly relevant. Firstly, perfect decisions are only possible with hindsight. Dwelling too long on a potential outcome is futile, and the real cost of indecision is simply wasting time. He speaks specifically about the value of failure, and I'm going to say to you, read it there. And this wasted time could be better used on failing your way to knowledge. Taking too long means you lose out on opportunity, knowledge, and time. Business is also highly dynamic, and most solutions will date and need to be replaced. That is why the concept of continuous improvement is more important today than ever before. And this dynamicism, along with the huge range of choice available in software technologies today, means it's easier to change and swap out technologies. So you want to be in a position where you can replace the technology platforms that no longer suit your needs. And selecting one that is good enough for now is far more important than picking the right platform. So much of the conversation today is around artificial intelligence, and it would be remiss of me not to just leave with some thoughts in this regard. So I'm a big believer that at some stage, artificial intelligence will be playing a disruptive impact in each or every one of your businesses. And I think that while we are now in the hype stage of AI, at some stage, we're probably underestimating the impact it will have around. However, for me, this is where your focus should be at this moment. You should be preparing your businesses for the effective use of artificial intelligence. I think there may be edge cases where artificial intelligence can be used right now, and those will be fairly obvious to you. So what does preparation for AI mean? I see two critical phases in the preparation of AI. Firstly, you need to employ the technical platforms that create all your transactional data, accurate, reliable transactional data. And this could be your service desk, your CRM systems, your communication systems, email, phone, instant messaging, and your accounting and ERP systems. But along with this, you need to create an environment where you hold and control all the data coming out of these transactional systems. You need to extract them from your transactional systems in a real-time fashion, if possible, and put them into an environment where you can interrogate and analyze them. This environment must be independent of your transactional systems, as you want the freedom in time to change any of your transactional systems, but still retain all your transactional history. AI feeds off data, and the more accurate, reliable data you have on your companies will put you in a better position to leverage AI in future so that you can start making an impact with it. Now is the time to start getting your houses in order around your systems so that you can be ready for what AI delivers. That's all I wanted to share with you today. I'd be very, very happy to engage in any conversation, questions, or comments.
Thanks, Steve.